Welcome to the 67th episode of Retrotopia. My name is Brian, and today we are headed into the jungle. So grab your bananas and forgive that entendre and join us as we discuss Donkey Kong Country. But before we start everything, I just want to say if you want to stay with the intro, we do some comments, catch up on life, and then a little bit of a gentleman's interlude. But if you're here just for the talk, skip about 15-20 minutes down the road and you will get to the game chat itself. But before we start everything, I want to mention our social medias. If you want to join us on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, Discord, you can find them all at linktree/Retrotopia. That's linktr.ee/Retrotopia. Also, you can join our Patreon, and it is free to join. And at the free tier, you get 2 more shows. Quick Play, where a single host will review a game, sometimes a game picked by somebody in the hero tier. We also have Retro Bites, a once-a-month show where we just get together and chat about some topics that we come up with, and it's released about 15 days early on the Patreon feed, and it also has an extra topic. You'll also be able to suggest topics for polls, and we have a poll going on right now if you want to join the Patreon and vote on that for a game we're going to be playing in an upcoming episode. We also allow you to comment on the game of the week and write into the host of every episode on what we call the 9-bit banter box because it's culturally elegant. Our first comment comes from Raging Demon, who asks, Sam and Alan, you legends, what's it like carrying Brian? A little hurtful. How are your backs? Also, be careful sharing drinks and shaking Brian's hands. Just trust me, he has more than cooties. Well, thank you very much, sir. Sam and Ellen are obviously not here for the intro, so I'm going to answer on their behalf. They love me. I am a saint. Next question. Next one actually comes from Blaine the Hoagie Man, one half of the hosts of the Retro Riders podcast. Check him out. He asks, I just have one question. Do you like big butts? And remember, you cannot lie. Well, other brothers can't deny that when a girl walks in with an itty-bitty waist and a round thing in your face, I get sprung. But honestly, a nice butt really makes a man look meaty, especially as a carnivore. Yummy. But I'm just going to say this, I'm not gay, but I also go to the gallery to admire the art, not fuck the painting. So, if you got a good-looking ass, I'm going to admire it. Next question comes from Joe Fettuccini, aka Wildcard, because I'm going to slowly phase out that Wildcard name, because fuck you, Wildcard. He asks, if there was a game starring you, what type of game would that be? Platformer? RPG? Brian's pole waxing simulator? Inquiring minds want to know. Well, Joe Fettuccini, Brian's Pole Waxing Simulator will be out in 2029, and the Game of the Year edition out in Q1 2030, just to let you know. If I start in a game, it would be one of the most boring games ever. It'd be called Sitting Motionless Watching TV Simulator 2025. There's no button inputs, no feedback from the game. The interface is a hot mess. You have useless information all around, and the save data corrupts automatically. That's pretty much my life these days, is come home, veg on the couch. Yay. Next question comes from Guy Who Does Things. He asks, okay, I asked Alan previously what game he's looking forward to in 2025, so now I ask you, what game am I looking forward to in 2025, and why is it Ghost of Yotai? Well, Ghost of Yotai is definitely a day one purchase for me. I'm gonna call that maybe my most anticipated game of the year, considering that the next game I want to buy comes out in less than a month. I'm going to go down a list here of games I found that I will probably buy, but not guaranteed, because the first one is Assassin's Creed Shadow. If it has a good launch, I will buy it very shortly after it releases, but if it's a hot mess, like it just feels like it's going to be, then, well, it's going to sit down on the pile of waiting games like Mirage is right now. There's a game coming out called Judas, no actual release date I believe, but it has piqued my interest. That was made by the guys who made BioShock. The game I will be buying next probably is Civilization 7. I'm probably going to even pre-order that game. I'm not a big fan of pre-ordering, but when it's about a week or two out, I don't mind pre-ordering, because at that point the game is pretty much guaranteed not to be delayed. Then there's a game that was announced at the Xbox Direct called Expedition 33, and it kind of has me salivating, but I was going to wait to see how the game reviewed, but it's probably coming on Game Pass. I didn't confirm before starting to record this, but I have Game Pass. If this is on Game Pass, then I am going to play this game. Also, on the Xbox note, Fable is supposed to be coming out this year, and that'll probably be a day one purchase, unless, again, of course, it's on Game Pass, and it'll be a day one play for me. Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out, if they don't have that ridiculous $100 price tag that was rumored by that guy in the news the last couple of weeks. Absolutely. Love GTA 3 through 5 right now. 6 is probably going to be no different. The Lunar Remaster Collection is coming out this year. I have Lunar the Silver Star Story Complete on the PlayStation 1 and Lunar 2 as well. So these will probably be something I pick up because the boxes are starting to get kind of iffy on my originals, and I just don't want to do any more damage to them trying to get the games out and stuff. Also, there is a game in a series I love called Professor Layton and the New World of Steam. I'm going to get that. That's a guaranteed for me to buy. I love the Professor Layton puzzle games. So that's it. Those are my most anticipated games this year. Ghost of Yotai is probably top in the list. You're correct on that, guy who does things. But it's going to be good eating in 2025. So Mr. Hooley, our next commenter and one of our newest Patreon members, he says, "Hello, good sir. If you could only have one console to play for the rest of your days, what would you choose and why?" Hands down, the Super Nintendo, Hooley. It has the best RPGs, in my opinion, which are my favorite genre. I actually like the fighting games on the Super Nintendo. Mortal Kombat 2, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Killer Instinct, all those types of games I actually found enjoyable. Unlike fighters after that era, I fell off the fighter genre. And the platform action games, sports games, there's so much to play on the Super Nintendo that I could probably play that for the rest of my life. As long as I had the entire collection of games. I just go through alphabetically. Thanks for writing in. And our final question comes from our favorite Fallen Snow Kiku. She says, howdy there, Brian. Do you have any turn off your brain and just relax type games or shows or any other sort of media that you like to kick back and unwind with? Yes. One of my favorite things about media is to use it to shut my brain off from the real world. It's kind of why I don't like war movies and stuff like that. It's too close to reality that I just don't want it. But if you take a movie like Civil War, where it's still based in this fantastical idea of the America going into a full civil war between the states, and yeah, it's still entertaining. As for games, my shut my brain off games are usually town builders like SimCity, or there's a game called Banished where you're just basically managing a small village. Not really hard. You can just sit there and let it play itself for a little bit as they build stuff up, and then you just kind of expand your town. It's a fun little game. There's also non-action puzzle games like Donut County. I had played on Game Pass there. It's a little indie where you just have a hole and you put the hole underneath stuff and it drops into the said hole and the hole grows bigger and you're just kind of cleaning up the level. Not a really hard game, but it has a good story and I love it. And there's also the survival without zombies. I don't know why every survival game nowadays has to be based around zombies, but there's A Long Dark, and it's a Canadian company. I fell in love with this game. I sing this game's praises from the rooftop. Fantastic game. They have episodic story going on, 4 out of 5 chapters released. They have a DLC released, so it is just a fun, relaxing game. You go chop wood, build shelters, find stuff, explore. There's nature that's your enemy. It's not zombies, like I said. I don't like survival horror games where you're like building a campfire and then all of a sudden the zombies come out of the woods. Not for me. For TV and movies, mostly old shows. I tend to have a bad habit of going through shows I've watched before. I've just finished watching Scrubs. I'm going through half of The Simpsons right now. I did Rick and Morty again because the season's upcoming. Yep, shows I've already watched allows me to just put it on in the background and zone out. And right now, actually, probably my favorite show I'm watching right now is Dragon Ball Z. My son got into it, and, well, I kind of dragged him into it. Get him off of, like, that brain-rotting TikTok, YouTube Shorts type of stuff. I wanted him to sit down and actually watch a show with a story, and he kind of got hooked on it. So the night before I'm recording this, we would normally shut him down at 9 o'clock, and then we'd watch Dragon Ball Z for an hour before he went to bed. Last night, he went for his shower, made his lunch by 7 o'clock, and we watched Dragon Ball Z from 7 p.m. till 10 p.m., and he was right into it, so I love it. And for new shows, Shrinking and Severance on Apple TV, both those are fantastic shows. They hooked me right away and made me want more. Severance right now is pissing me off because it's in season 2 and I want all of it, not just weekly episodic drops. So that does it for the 9-Bit Banter Box. Thanks everyone for writing in as always. I posted something in the Patreon. We're going to start looking at the length of how long this segment goes. Looking at it right now, I'm at about the 11-minute mark, so I want to keep the intro under 20 minutes. So if you write in and all of a sudden you notice your comments aren't getting read, we're going to try to rotate them to keep them fair, but we're going to start trying to keep this neat and tidy so that every episode is more consistent. Just something to look at in the future. Right now, no major plans. We read everything we get. Thanks for writing in, and we hope you keep writing in, and we hope you keep enjoying. And if you want to write in, again, join the Patreon. Or if you just want to talk to us, join our Discord. You can find it at the link tree. So real quick recap of what I've been playing. I've been playing Wild Arms. I restarted that for another podcast. I have Altered Code F, which is a remake of it, which is way better, and I keep forgetting how frustrating the original Wild Arms can be. It's not that it's hard, it's just I don't... The newer games have better mechanics, like Wild Arms 2 and beyond, and Wild Arms just lacks one of the mechanics I really like, which is being able to skip some enemies when you're too far ahead in the level and their experience is not worth it. But, you know, it is what it is. I'll keep playing it. We started a game for Valentine's Day on February 14th, which coincides with a special episode, ironically, but we love it, so we're gonna work on that, keeping it a little bit tight-lipped right now so that we don't ruin the surprise. And I've been playing We Love Katamari for a quick play that was suggested by one of our members at the Hero tier. And yeah, so far I'm liking it. A couple of things that are hard, but it's more just me getting used to the controls. Other than that, great game. What do we got in the pipe? Well, we're caught up on quick plays finally. We've turned it into a bi-weekly show because honestly, we were struggling to keep up with the amount on a weekly show because you have to play the game and record it and then put it into the queue. By doing it bi-weekly, we've managed to keep a good flow going. Last one I loaded up was Radiata Stories. I believe that was for Radmac who requested that game. So if you're waiting for that, that's in the queue now. Expect that in the next few weeks. So that's it. That's everything I've been playing and now what we got coming up. And now before we go any further, we like to give the floor to Alan. So we can enjoy that sweet British voice on something we like to call the Gentleman's Interlude.
In the vast and untamed wilderness of the fictional Donkey Kong Island, a unique adventure unfolds. The year is 1994, and the remarkable creatures of this lush world, developed by Rare Limited for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, are about to captivate audiences worldwide. The game Donkey Kong Country was released on November 21st, 1994 in North America, marking the beginning of a new era in platform gaming. At the heart of this thriving ecosystem is Donkey Kong, a mighty yet good-natured gorilla, and his trusty companion, Diddy Kong, a smaller, more agile primate. The two are on a quest to reclaim their precious hoard of bananas, stolen by the ruthless King K. Rool and his gang of gremlins. This theft sends our heroes into the heart of the island, navigating through dense jungles, perilous caves, and treacherous swamps in pursuit of their stolen bounty. The developers, Rare Limited, led by a visionary team including Tim and Chris Stamper, crafted an experience unlike any before it. Utilizing groundbreaking pre-rendered 3D graphics, Donkey Kong Country showcased a level of visual fidelity that was unprecedented for its time. The characters and environments, painstakingly created through advanced graphic techniques, leapt from the screen with stunning detail, while still maintaining the charm of classic 2D gameplay. As our intrepid heroes travel, they encounter various creatures, some friendly and some not. There are enemies such as the deceptively adorable zingers and the more menacing armies of Kremlings, all adding to the rich tapestry of life on Donkey Kong Island. Along the way, they traverse vibrant landscapes filled with hidden secrets, swinging vines, and precarious platforms, each offering both danger and reward. The duo also encounters a variety of allies, such as the courageous Rambi the Rhino, who can charge through obstacles with unstoppable force, and the clever On Guard the Swordfish, who helps them navigate the aquatic realms. Donkey Kong Country was a resounding success, not just for its visuals, but also its gameplay, which blended tight controls with challenging level design. Its release marked a milestone for both Rare and Nintendo, and it became a hallmark of the SNES's capabilities, shaping the legacy of platformers for years to come.
Thank you, as always, Alan. Love that gentleman's interlude. Something he does on his own. He puts it together. Very good. He wants to be a voice actor. Hire him now. If you don't, then, well, you hate voice acting. So let's get into some comments before we get into the game. And we got some beefy comments here, so let's get right into it. Starting with Randy Barrage. He said, I did not own a Super Nintendo as a kid, but I played the absolute shit out of this game growing up with my cousins. Language, young man. The platforming just feels right. The music is iconic, especially the underwater levels, and playing this game with a buddy is just the best. However, those damn barrels in the winter level, that one jump in the minecart level, the poison pond as a whole can eat my banana. The entire original trilogy has a special spot in my gaming heart and easily has a place in the Mount Rushmore of platform gamings. Well said. Blaine the Hoagie Man says, okay, so picture this. The year is 1994 and Hoagie Man has yet to get a Super Nintendo. But then one day I walk into homeroom class at school and my one classmate is sitting there reading a magazine. So I'm sure I asked him what it was and what he was reading because there was a giant gorilla on the cover and he had to let me know it was a player's guide for the game called Donkey Kong Country. After letting me look at this book and seeing how bright and colorful everything looked and telling me that it was this was a Super Nintendo I didn't have yet, I went home and begged my mother to get a Super Nintendo and this game. Of course, I got the usual, but don't you already have a Nintendo? But I explained to her that it's new and I'd like to get it. Fast forward to Christmas of '94, after opening my brand new Super Nintendo and a few other Super Nintendo games, I did open my own copy of Donkey Kong Country. Since then, I've probably played this game and its sequel each over 100 times, fully completing them each time. I will always love the gameplay, the music, the locations, and the level design. Yes, they can be kind of difficult, and they aren't for everyone, but I feel this game and its sequels are the epitome of get good, and they will always rank highly in some of my favorite games ever. Wow. Gonna take a second there. That was a long one, and we got another one from Radmac. Radmac, also one of our newer Patreons. He says, I will forever wonder why people didn't compare this game more to Sonic. It's made for speedrunning for many of the levels. If you just hold right and time everything correctly, you can pretty much perfect a run. I would argue it's actually faster than Sonic, hot take, but far more fun and just a better game. Where Sonic's success is really just the graphics, music, and mascot with trash gameplay, which is why it's a perfect franchise for film and cartoons but not games. Donkey Kong Country has all of those, but an actual fun game that isn't predicated on being fast and breaking the promise every time you have to stop and slowly platform the way that you do in Sonic. Oh, I'm starting to like you. Getting away from the fuck Sonic sentiment, the DKC games, particularly 1 and 2, are some of my favorite games of all time. I'm not even a fan of platforming games. I'm lukewarm at best on Mario, but goddamn are these games good, and they started with this one. The only downside was the repetitive bosses, but the animal buddies, level design, game mechanics, mascots, graphics, and that so incredible score by David Wise, one of the GOATs, will always have a special place in my heart. I play through DKC about once a year, and it always stays incredible. Another long comment, a lot of great information in there. I love the Sonic hate. Feed my desire to hate that blue hedgehog. Which I don't actually, but I just like to bug Alan. Alan, I'm going to read that comment for you again. I'm going to clip that comment and read it just for you. Okay, I've got one final comment because I'm getting right to the end of my time here. This one is from Mr. Hooley, and it is a 2-sentencer. It says, one of the best games ever made with an absolute fire soundtrack. I have fond memories playing through this game with my dad as a kid. P.S. Fuck the ice world. That area drives me bonkers. Me too, buddy. Me too. So now I'm going to start a little bit of music, and we're going to get into the game discussion here. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for all the comments and everything. Let's do this. So we are going to be talking Donkey Kong Country, developed by Rare, published by Nintendo, released the 18th of November 1994 for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and later on the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoy the show. Hey, welcome back after that beautiful intro by yours truly. I am back for an episode because I took a day off from school because, well, frankly, I just didn't need to go. And I asked the boys if I could join back in on their podcast, and they graciously let me back as one of their tertiary hosts of the show. And that's all for me talking today. Boys, how are you?
Who the fuck are you?
That's gonna be it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I get. I gotta go back to class now.
This intern's pretty good. I like your style. Yes, I'm good. I'm brilliant. I'm 70% less fucking stressed than I was playing this game. And
25% more whiskey right now because you spilt it on you.
I did. I smelled delicious. Best you don't know.
Okay.
Worcestershire sauce.
Oh, it's that. Okay, cool. That's a nice, good Worcestershire sauce. Okay.
How you doing, Sam?
Yeah, doing great. I love this game. Let's talk about this game.
Yeah, let's talk about the game. Where do you guys want to start? I want to start with the graphics. I like the graphics. Nothing, guys.
Nothing.
I listen.
Well, I wanted to start with personal. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Did you guys play this growing up?
Okay, I'm a little bit rusty. All right. Jesus.
Did you guys play this growing up? Let's start with Brian. Brian, shake off that rust. Did you play this game growing up?
Of course, I played this game growing up. First rented, then purchased.
Nice.
This was a staple on the Super Nintendo. The 3D graphics were fucking mind-blowing at the time. Fun little platformer, way better when I was young. A little bit A little bit different as an adult, but I love it. Are you guys whispering to each other? I hear.
I
No.
hear that too, a little bit.
Yeah. Fuck knows what that is. See, there you go, Brian. I mean, you've got to give a little bit of foreplay before you get into the main event.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you can't just jam it in.
You can't.
Jesus Christ! I'm gone for like 3 episodes, and you two act like you're
Just
fuck off.
Put that banana away, and we'll take it slow.
It'll be a cold day in hell before I let go of my banana.
I also played this very briefly as a kid. Like, I think we owned this game back in the day, and I don't know if it was a case of I played it, I loved the look of it, I loved the sound of it, but I could not get very far in this game whatsoever, and with good reason. And I guess maybe it was a game that, because I just replayed the first couple of levels over and over, maybe I just got bored of it and moved on to something else. But definitely owned it, definitely played it, definitely did not do very well.
Yeah, I didn't play much of it. I like it. I love it. It's a great game, but like I never had a Super Nintendo, so this is something that if I was at someone's house that had a Super Nintendo and they had this game, it was kind of cool to see. But again, I didn't play a ton of it. I had Donkey Kong Land on the Game Boy, which is not the same.
No, certainly isn't.
No, that was like my consolation prize. Like, I had Sega, so I couldn't play Donkey Kong Country, but like I had a Game Boy, so
And
Donkey
you had a
Kong
Sega.
Land is good.
You had a Mega
have a
Drive,
Sega,
so you win.
Yeah. But I also remember being fascinated with just this game and just Nintendo games in general, I would say, because I don't know about you guys, but in elementary school, or maybe you guys call it primary school,
We do.
the library used to carry Nintendo Power, which was fucking awesome. And I would check them out and just page through them and they would have like the full printouts of the levels. You guys remember those? When they would...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would just look at those and just kind of like follow through, like trace through with my finger, like all the way through the level and stuff. And
That's
Donkey Kong Country
awesome.
was one I remember. Yeah, and I experienced the game that way, just like looking through the level design, and I thought that was really fun. So yeah, this makes me sound like I was like some neglected child who didn't get to play Donkey Kong. Like I got the shitty Game Boy version. Yeah, I got the shitty Game Boy version, and I had to like check out, like the level design from the library and just like listfully look at it.
Sam's like, I want to play Donkey Kong Country. We have Donkey Kong Country at home. Donkey Kong Country at home.
Yeah, is Donkey Kong Land. Yeah, Donkey Kong at home is fucking Kid Chameleon.
Mom, Dad, all the kids are playing Donkey Kong Country. No, you'll play Sonic like a big boy.
Yeah.
We're a Sonic family. And then your dad proceeds to, hit you with a belt.
Yeah, pretty much. No, I was...
That's why you got to go fast.
I was not hit as a child. But yeah, no, that was my experience. But I've always been fascinated by Donkey Kong. I like the character. The graphics are great.
Now,
Well, then,
like
you want
that
to
you
talk
said
about the
I was-
graphics now?
Go
Well,
for
I
it.
just want to say I'm happy that you said I wasn't hit as a child, implying that you've been hit as an adult. So
Yeah, no, as a child, yeah, that's...
just once you hit 18, your dad, off comes the belt. Cha!
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to put him in. I have to put him in his place.
Yeah,
just-
and it would leave like this giant welt on his back that looked as good as the graphics in this game.
Oh,
Oh, there's what a segue.
that was the
No,
most
but,
creative one yet.
Yeah.
It's so...
Kind of where I wanted to start. I know I was a little bit off topic, but I just want to say the graphics in this game hold up
I love it.
far better than some PlayStation games.
Phenomenal.
Do, 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 do,
I
do.
I thought the same thing.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah, I thought the graphics held up, and I really like, some of it's very colorful and some of it's not. I'd say, like, if I had a criticism of the graphics, I think that sometimes the palette is a little bit dark, because you get past the jungle, and actually in the jungle, like night falls or like it starts to rain or you're in a cave. So it's like, okay, like yeah, we're in this bright, vibrant, green, colorful jungle, but then also, you've got the mine cart and you've got the levels where it's raining and all that shit. And then
Oh, the snow level. God, that mind
snow
fucks
levels.
my eyes.
Oh,
Yeah, as beautiful as the graphics are, they can be a little bit I don't want to say monochromatic, but like dark or just kind of like samey types of tones. I guess that is monochromatic, but like yeah.
yeah. I mean,
don't,
I'll agree.
I don't mean to be a downer, but
No, sure. I mean, for a game that released on the Super Nintendo, I mean, there's no denying like the graphical style is absolutely stunning. But
Yeah.
but to be fair, it is a Nintendo game, and I've always found their color palette to be somewhat muted compared to, like a Mega Drive.
To our beloved Sega Genesis.
Our beloved Sega Genesis. There is perhaps times during this game where it is a little bit busy, sort of graphically, because there is a fucking lot going on in this game, and sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to see what's going on, but it's very, very rare. What an achievement, though! What an achievement on the system that it's on. It looks like nothing else that came out at the time.
And like kind of the midpoint. This is 1994, right? So this is kind of the midpoint of the Super Nintendo's lifespan, where you get Nintendo 64 coming out a few years later. But like this was very good, like 3D and a 2D space looking stuff. That wasn't. It didn't play shitty. I have some gripes with controls and platforming a little bit, but once you get the hang of kind of how it works, because it definitely doesn't play like a Mario game.
No, there's some...
It's got its own feel, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some moments where it's like, oh, I didn't think I was going to make that jump. And then there's other moments like, why are you sliding off the side of that perfectly flat surface, you dumbass?
Yeah, don't get me started on those. There's some later levels where like the platforms get kind of narrow, and it's like it looks like you're on it, but he just skips off the corner of it and falls flat. Yeah, it's just like straight down.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I don't find the palette to be very displeasing. I'm kind of poking myself through some levels here. There's levels designed to be like a mind fuck to your eyes, like that stop go level.
God,
yeah,
yeah.
And the one where the lights go out and there's like a cadence where the lights go on and off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, loopy lights.
I
actually
like that's the one where you hit the barrel.
There's one where you hit the barrel, and there's one where they go off and on their own, and it like
blackout basement.
It is it's absolutely pitch black. Yeah,
I was stuck. So full disclosure, obviously, I managed to get through this game like a matter of just hours ago, and that fucking basement just took so long. I don't know what it was, but it was just like I could not get the hang of that timing. And this game does like a really good job at fucking with you.
No, it does. Yeah.
Just when you think you've gotten the hang of playing the game, it just throws a complete curveball, and it's just like you have to relearn how to play it almost.
I would call it just like kind of gotcha. Like I was thinking about how like you get through like a particularly tough platforming section, and then you get to a point where you think you're safe, and then one of those like the most benign of enemies just like comes through and you're not expecting it, like the fucking like woodchuck like the first enemy you see in the game just like rolls up and hits you as soon as you as soon as you land on the edge of a platform. Just
oh, what really got me was when Diddy Kong is too weak to fucking take out some of the heavier enemies here, but he bounces off of them.
Oh god!
And more than once, I'd bounce off the enemy and go right down the hole that was beside him.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a specific spot I'm thinking of where like if you don't have Donkey, you're in trouble. And there's like a barrel that they give you so that you have the extra hit. when you're platforming. This is like a later level in the game, but it's like there's sometimes no way to like tag him out and get Donkey in, and so I don't know. It's like if you're not able to switch, you're kind of in trouble until you get to a spot where you can safely do it.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
What about the swimming levels? That's usually a big gripe for everybody is the
Love
swimming
'em.
levels.
Those are my favorite.
Did you love them?
I loved them.
Oh.
Even that nasty green one, where there's one where like the octopuses are chasing you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love 'em.
Oh,
I love
yeah.
every single one of those swimming levels. I absolutely fuck with. I love them.
I do say Donkey Kong and his little buddy Diddler there, they work pretty well in the water. And when you get the dolphin, it's just a little bit better. But I found the dolphin actually was harder to use than just swimming.
Oh, really?
That's a
Well,
swordfish.
I know.
On guard.
A
On guard
swordfish,
the
whatever.
swordfish. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the swordfish. Oh man.
Swordfish?
It is.
Yeah.
I'll agree
What a
that
dolphin-looking swordfish.
like I don't love the underwater levels, but I love them a fuck of a lot more than most underwater levels. Like I think they don't have the same amount of bullshit as some of the other ones. You know, there is no worrying about the air. There is no
Sonic.
like, yeah. There's no real slowdown in water either. As well, you know, it's just it's very responsive. They swim very well. My only problem is that those levels tend to be the biggest arseholes where it comes to those, what you call them, gotcha mechanics, because I found I really had to crawl through those levels because just when you thought you were safe, a fucking piranha would come along or an octopus would swoop in from the side of the screen, and there's literally no time to react to it. And I just, as much as I enjoyed them, I found them to be the cheapest levels in the game.
Yeah,
90% of this game, though, is just repetition and pattern memorization. Like, any level I had difficulty with, I play it enough times, I'd be like, oh, okay, I know I need to jump over the bee at this time, or I need to move to the other side of this moving platform at this time so I don't get something to land on me. And it just became repetition. So it's...
Although,
I don't know, that's probably one downfall of the game, but also a positive point.
Yeah, you know what I love is in games like this when you're trying to like memorize the patterns or whatever, like you said, you jump over the bee here, and then like as soon as you land on the platform but beyond it there's like another one that comes and kills you. It's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
now I gotta remember that one.
It's so ridiculous. Like this is not, I mean, I know people do, and I'm sure there's a healthy community of people who do it, but this does not feel like a speed running game. Like, there is you cannot, or at least I cannot go fast in this fucking game whatsoever.
Oh, you can go fast enough. I mean, yeah, speedrunning, like I said, is just pattern memorization.
Of course.
If you know what's going on, you can systematically disassemble every level.
But there is so much that's just there to, like, literally, like Sam was saying, just like, oh, you think you're safe, do you? Well, here you go. And it's just, I would get caught out every single time. You know, maybe it's the reflexes of a 40-year-old man. Who knows? But, Jesus, like, the amount of times I would get crawl to the next point only to get just killed out of nowhere and then have to go back and do it all over again and then get killed literally on the next thing. It's just like, if you could hear some of the words that were coming out of my mouth earlier on while I was playing it, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Bother. Oh,
there's
absolutely bullocks.
Oh,
This is
Reginald,
definitely,
I disagree.
Yeah, this is definitely a spewing profanities type game when when you're trying to like learn you get to the next level.
Especially when you are at the edge of like a cliff and you go to do a run jump and he rolls into the cliff and then you can't react fast enough because it catches you off guard, because you can roll and jump.
Yeah.
And that's how you get some of the items. But how many times did you guys, I did it a lot, how many times did you guys roll right into a pit?
Oh, God.
A bunch.
The fact that, I mean, everyone knows on a platformer, you know, the best bet is to like hold the run button all the time. You know, just for the sheer momentum, because there are tons of jumps in this game that you will never make if you're not moving at a fairly significant clip. But in order to get into that running motion, like you do that weird sort of cartwheel roll thing beforehand, and if you're on a very narrow ledge to begin with, like so many times I would literally just plummet to my death. But it's just like I just want a bit of momentum. Why are you punishing me for that?
Yeah, I actually had the opposite problem. I held down the run button pretty much for the entire level. That I very rarely rolled to kill enemies. I would always jump on them while holding down the run button the whole time. I think that was actually one of the reasons it took me so long to get through Gorilla Glacier.
One thing that I
tweet.
would do,
Yeah.
because like the rolling does suck. If there's a way that you can kind of jiggle the D-pad, you can kind of use the D-pad to kind of roll in place a little bit. It kind of like stops your momentum, and he just kind of does the roll in place. But on a very narrow platform, if you're right on the edge, that doesn't always work. What I would end up doing sometimes is like jumping and then holding B while, or whatever the run button was. I think it was actually Y. So I would jump, and then I would hold the run button or the roll button or whatever while I was in midair, so that by the time I come back down, I'm already holding it, and then that way it was a way to engage in place without already being in motion, I guess. So
That
then you
makes
just
sense.
start out running. Yeah, that was a nice strategy. There's a strategy for you guys if you
Yeah.
haven't played this game or you want to give it another shot.
I mean, I'm
Give
the
it a
same as
try.
Brian. Like, I was never using that to actually attack enemies because I never trusted the roll to just like not. Yeah, because sometimes you get enemies in groups of 3 and you just be like, yeah, maybe I'll take out the first 2, but then I'm just there with my arse hanging out for the third one.
Sorry, your roll ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many times like that with those orangutans that throw barrels. Like you would just you'd go to land on top of them, and you're playing as Diddy, who's fucking useless in this game, and you would think you land on top of him, but apparently he got the barrel up just in time, and you die.
Do you know what?
And-
That is a controversial statement you just made there, because I play almost exclusively as Diddy. And I'm sitting there just thinking, I'm just like, who the fuck plays as Donkey Kong? That guy's useless.
People who want to kill the bigger enemies.
Well,
Diddy Kong.
Yeah, I'll usually hang around with Donkey Kong.
I think Diddy Kong jumps higher and farther than Donkey Kong, but
Yeah.
I mostly stuck with Donkey Kong. Actually, I didn't really give a shit who was in front until I ran into those big enemies, and then it was mostly Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I did use him more in the later levels when you do have those big guys, but otherwise I was just using that speed and jump just to kind of avoid everything. Well, certainly the enemies that I couldn't just kill outright. And I just found Diddy to be, like, far more enjoyable to play as.
I don't know. I think people like Diddy Kong, but I don't know. I just think he's a twerp.
Oh, come on. Here, I was just about to say, I think Diddy is one of my favorite characters in video
You're
games.
a twerp.
Just period.
Well, they let him anchor the second game, so
I love Diddy.
obviously he was loved enough.
Diddy Kong, that is. I
was going to say, somebody clip that out and
no, don't
save
clip
that for later.
I love Diddy Kong. Is my favorite Kong.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, that kid can move, and I appreciated that. I mean, and I enjoyed the mechanic of. I mean, you get effectively 2 hits before you die if you've got both Kongs, which is a kind of intuitive and very interesting way of, I guess, having a shield almost. I thought that was really, really clever. Because God, you need both of them.
Man, could you imagine what Sonic 2 would be like if you could switch between Sonic and Tails, like a team up like that?
I fucking thought you could when I first played it.
Yeah, I know, and you can't.
No, Tails just sits there and it's like, Sonic, you're gonna die, and then just watches you die.
I mean, yeah, you can't switch in the levels. You can play as either one of them, but yeah, you can't switch between them on the fly.
You can't.
So
No, not like a team up, like a tag team, like Donkey and Diddy.
No, which is they just give each other the high five and swap over, and there you go. That is cool.
I love the swap animation, like tag out.
I love all the animations in this game. It's just
This game is really smooth.
it's
Yeah.
so smooth. It almost looks like claymation, that sort of,
Yeah.
I don't want to say like Wallace and Gromit kind of. It's just got that smoothness to it, and it's just, I don't know, just every character has so much character. They're all very well animated. It's wonderful, a joy
The
to
only,
look
as speaking of animation, the only jank I really found was in, there's those levels. It's not the mine cart, although I think it happens in the mine carts too, but the ones where you're standing on those like elevator platforms, and there's one where you have to like continuously refuel by getting those barrels. That's a cool level too.
at. I like that level. That's one
Yeah.
of my favorites.
But there were times when if you would lose a Kong, the platform would stop and the other one would kind of just like not quite, like I was kind of having trouble like getting the second one, the swap between the two when one gets hit, was a little weird, especially when you're on like a moving platform, because it would kind of freeze the game to do the animation and then cut it back in a, like when you're not really ready for it.
Yeah, and I think the momentum can really fuck you over there.
Just launch you off the screen.
It happened. It happened a
Yeah.
lot, and I think it just
Yeah.
depends where you are when you get hit.
Yeah, there's spots where if you get hit by an enemy in midair, you lose both your Kongs, because like one gets killed by the enemy hit, and the other one just like gets thrown somewhere and doesn't land in the right spot.
Absolutely.
Did you guys notice how many levels started with a secret at the very beginning?
A-
It was,
A bunch.
I'd say,
yeah.
for the better part of all of them, save
Yeah.
for a couple. Like, you go taking the first level, you go back up into the hut. There's a free life in there. The first Egyptian temple level, you go back and you find a barrel that shoots you up, and you get other stuff. But it was always worth just double checking the beginning of the map just to make sure you didn't miss a secret.
Yeah, the swim levels where like you swim directly up and there's the K, and it's like not a place where you would think to go necessarily. How many levels did you finish with like trying to get all the Kong letters and you ended up with like Ong? It was like, where the fuck was the K?
I didn't.
I
I
got a
did not even
surprisingly
try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a surprisingly large amount of levels completed with Kong up until the glacier level.
Yeah.
From then, it was hit or miss, and I think I got more than half of the glacier world done with all of the Kong. After that, I said, fuck it. And then I kind of lost my composure because that's the point where I was game overing a lot.
Yeah.
I
Well,
promise you, here and now, I promise you, if I ever play this game again, and I might, I will never, ever, ever get all of the Kongs in this game. I'm just not going to do it.
No, and the bullshit is like, oh, there's the N, and it's like between two platforms in a spot where if you jump for it, you fall. And so I don't know if the intention is to like let an enemy kind of fall into the hole and then jump down on the enemy and jump out, but like there's not always an enemy there. So there's somewhere I was just like,
Well,
what
you
am I
got to do
supposed
the roll jump sometimes. You roll into the gap and you jump out of it.
That's the thing.
What?
Yes, you can roll into a gap, and then as you're in midair, if you haven't used your jump, you can jump out of that roll, and then it'll save you from falling into the gap sometimes.
What?
Shit.
Come on.
I don't know.
There's no way.
I'd have to give it a try, but I would assume that the timing on that is very precise.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially if it's in the later levels, some of the jumps are pretty, hit or miss.
And some of those letters and items that are in those gaps are like in a pretty wide gap. It's not always just like a narrow one. I don't know. I know that there's some.
There's always
that you
a
can
way.
Probably, yeah. I guess whatever.
The problem is, it's just half the time I was in these levels with literally one life left, and it's just like, I am not taking that chance. I need to get to the next save point like my life, and it does depend on it.
Let's move into the save points. That is one of my biggest gripes with this game is getting to the save point. You can't just back out of the level. You have to use funky flights to go back to the last world where there is an active save point. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of the friggin' game, and it can be 6 levels worth of gameplay before you find the next save point.
Well, and that's true of Funky too. Like whether you're going for candy for the save point or funky for the flights, like if you're there, there's certain worlds that you go into where it's like you're gonna have to play a few levels before you even get there.
Yeah.
To either one.
Yeah, once you start, you can't get out, and you're at the
Yeah.
mercy of how many lives you have left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if it's like, I don't know, 1 level, 2 levels before you find funky or candy, it's just so brutal. I agree with you, Brian, 10,000%. That for me is going to cost this game at least a point, because when I go to an entirely new world, there should not be a risk of me game overing and having to go back and fight the previous world's boss again. What is that? Come on.
The bosses were pretty easy though.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
arguably the easiest part of the game, but it's just like,
Yeah.
it really sort of makes you like not want to carry on. And I know I sound like I'm really shitting on this game, and I do really like this game. This is probably the most conflicted I've ever been on any game we've covered.
I like this game, but I agree with you. There's times I had to put it down just because I got so frustrated because of the bullshit. And then, you know that thing that happens when you've done a level so many times and you start to become complacent to it, and you just want to get through it, so you kind of rush your jumps, and then you start missing them, and you're like, fucking game, and you get angrier, so you rush even harder the next time. That kept happening to me.
Yeah, I did lose patience fairly often.
This is a game that like really like if you get kind of either like in your head or just kind of, you know, it kind of gets under your skin, you will not have a good time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was trying to think of like I couldn't fault full disclosure. I mean, just to save time, really. Mostly, I use save points, and on some of the really challenging platforming or jumps, just because I hadn't completed this game before, I used rewind a little bit to like kind of practice some of those like tougher sections, just to kind of see like what do they want me to do here. So I will say, like, I didn't beat this game naturally.
Oh, you save states?
I use save states, yeah. And a little bit of rewind, but not a ton. But, I mean, it's there. I mean, it's there to kind of sharpen the, like, just, I mean, it takes time off of, you know, you having to just sit there and quote unquote get good or do whatever. But I tried to put myself in the, you know, in the original position of like in the 90s playing this game. This would have been a perfect game to like sit with a friend and take turns trying to get through, and like you can kind of strategize like, all right, we're gonna get once we get to the next candy, we'll save, and then or like once you get to the next funky, you take the plane back to the first level and you grind a bunch for lives, and then you come back to where you were. Because funky, like as annoying as it was that funky wasn't just always automatically available in every world, at least once you got to him, you didn't have to pay anything to use it, and you didn't have to pay to save or anything. Like it's all just kind of there once you get to it. So if you needed to go back and stock up on lives once you got to that point, you could do that, and then you could take as many times, you know, as many turns as you needed to, you know, get through whatever levels. I don't know. I don't find too much fault with it. I think it's just a product of the time.
I'm embarrassed to say that it was only on this playthrough that I realised that what I should be doing is actually using funky to go back to a previous world and saving there. And that's kind of embarrassing. But like Candy Kong became, and it's probably my literal favourite character in the game, because whenever I saw her, whenever a shack opened up, I was just like, oh, thank God. Because at least now, and I tell you what, there is nothing more relaxing than the first level that you play after saving at Candy Kong Shack, because you're just like, oh, you know, I might game over here, but it's cool. I've just saved. It's literally the best feeling.
Yeah.
But
one thing that's shitty about the saves is that when you fire the game back up, it starts you back off with just 3 lives or whatever you start with as default. So if you've gone back and like, say you're like, oh, I'm going to stock up on lives, then just save quick, and then I'll come back to it later. Like, when you turn it back on, it's going to be back to however many
I noticed that one. That one kind of ticked me off. You know, get through World 1, good little run. All right, I'm just going to turn it off for the night, and come back. It's like, where's my 15 fucking lives?
Gone.
Oh yeah, see,
Yeah.
I never had that many lives in the game, so it didn't bother me that much. It's just
Well, I
like,
had it at the end of the first world there, and I thought I'd just carry on with a good amount of lives, but nope. This game said "fuck you."
I guess I just suck at Donkey Kong.
It's a hard ass game. Like
It
it's
is.
Yeah,
not.
it's
Yeah,
It's almost trolling in its difficulty, as we've said. It's just
well. There's times where you make a jump and you make a miracle landing on an enemy. You're like, oh, I thought I was dead, and then there's other times like, yeah, I got this motherfucker, and you die,
Yeah.
and it's bullshit. Or the mine carts, like we didn't talk about those. I
I
enjoy
love
the mine carts.
I love the mine carts.
Yeah, really fun levels, but there's times where you're jumping the mine cart and you just clip the tip of the friggin' obstacle that you're jumping,
Yeah,
and you either lose one of your Kongs or you die. It's just it's frustrating.
you
It's
never
very
want to clip your
precise.
tip.
that's another one where they were like the pieces of the track will end, and that's where the platforming comes in. We have to jump between them, and you'll like go down part of the track, and then have to jump at the very 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 last second to get whatever, if it's a Kong letter or if it's like a bundle of bananas or a free life or whatever, and it's very precise. And it's really hard with like a game that's fully rendered 3D to time your jumps, because you're not like, it's almost like in Mario you can kind of pixel count,
Yeah.
whereas this one you really can't, because it's so
I know.
smooth.
I know the because they're quite notorious. The minecart levels in this game. It seems to be something that a lot of people focus on, but I genuinely found like those to be, I mean, if not some of the easiest parts of the game, but certainly the most enjoyable. And I didn't really struggle with them too much. I don't know why. It's literally everything else except for the bosses that I had trouble with. But I mean, the carts kind of give you that natural momentum, so
Yeah.
at least you don't have to worry about whether or not you're going fast enough. It's just a case of timing.
I do like the carts. I wish there were more, but I think they expanded like in 2 and 3. I think there's more cart levels. I thought there were going to be more cart levels in this, and I was surprised to find that there were only like 2 true cart levels.
Mm.
And then the rest of those types of levels were kind of like those like moving platform, like elevator kind of levels.
Yeah. Yeah, which says a lot, really, because they only rely on 2 of those cart levels, and you think, well, that's not a lot of variation. But something that this game does astonishingly well is just mixing it up in almost every level. I don't like every mechanic that they use. Anything to do with light, I just found to be a ball ache. But
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate the fact that there is literally so much mixed in this game, so many different gameplay styles that you need to adapt to. It's never boring. They're
No,
always
it's not.
no,
Yeah.
they're always throwing something new at you, and that I think is a credit to just their creativity.
Yeah, I'd say.
The level design is pretty good in this one. I do like the escalating difficulty, but there is a point where some levels just feel like they're designed to be way too hard just to hamper your progress.
Mm. Yeah, well, that's like I said, that trolling difficulty at times.
Yeah, speaking, I was going to go back to trolling. Is this where we should talk about the final boss and the fucking trolling that they do with King K. Rool? I was not, like, this was, okay, this game is over 30 years old, and here I am, like, finally finishing it, in my late 30s. I'm like, what the fuck? Where they roll fake, spoiler if you haven't played it, they roll some fake credits, and then as soon as those finish, King K. Rool gets back up and starts attacking you again, and then he's harder actually. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
now that I'm sitting here talking about it a day later, it's funny. But when it happened, I was like, "What the absolute fuck?"
That's it. And that's the truth for the entire game. It's just like,
Yeah,
after the fact and talking about it now, I'm just like, yeah, this is fantastic. But at the time, it's just like, I enjoy Donkey Kong Country more when I'm not playing it than I do when I'm actually playing it. But that is, like you have to laugh, like because
Yeah.
like you said, none of the boss fights have been particularly difficult, and I think if I have to say there's anything that's maybe a bit of a letdown, it's maybe it is the bosses. I mean, some of them are even repeated a couple of times, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that like woodchuck looking thing. It's just like, oh, here he is again, but faster.
yeah, and it's like, okay, like maybe this was sort of an afterthought. But yeah, King K. Rool was a nice, like varied fight, and that moment that you mentioned is just like,
Hmm.
all right,
Did you
you
read
got
the
me.
credits?
Yeah,
I did. It was
yeah,
all like
Yeah.
it was all like crocodile with a K,
Yeah, every word.
like
Yeah, every word
themed.
begins with a K, and it's going through the composer and the cast or whatever, and
Yeah, my
yeah,
my dumb
everyone's.
ass is sitting here thinking like, oh, that's funny. They made everything with a K. That's fun. It's kind of like when
These
you
guys
watch.
have the same name as the enemies.
I was like, oh, this is kind of like a Treehouse of Horror version of their end credits, and I appreciate it. And then it ended, and I got attacked again. I was like, what the fuck?
yeah. I mean, I did die sort of almost immediately
I
after
did.
those
Yes.
credits to a launched crown, and it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, you know what it
That's
is?
why you never put your controller down until you turn the system
I
off.
I knew it was coming, and it still got me.
Yeah, that's like reminds me of like never turn your back on an enemy.
Uh,
It's monkey business, is what it is.
It is. It is.
do you guys want to talk about that fucking banger of a soundtrack by
Oh.
David Wise?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, and if you don't know who David Wise is, some of the games he's done is Anticipation for it's a board game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It has like this song, like this one song that just burrows into your brain. He also did Marble Madness, Cobra Triangle, Battletoads, California Games. Like this guy's done everything. He's done all the Donkey Kong, Smash Brothers. Still making music today.
Damn.
His next game is called 99 Fails.
Wow.
99 fails. That's like what
And the bitch
you could
ain't
call my
wrong.
playthrough of Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he also did Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which you guys were like sucking the dick of.
Yeah, I played that recently. That was a good time.
I played that
Star
back
Fox
in the Wii U days.
Adventures.
Star Fox
Ah.
Adventures.
I've been meaning to get around to that. I think I have it upstairs.
Yeah, so the guy is well storied, and he fucking nails this soundtrack.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
I love the
Like,
sound.
Tell me, not the best part of the game is just listening to the music. The hauntingly beautiful song for the underwater levels.
that's
Yeah.
Jungle
hands
congos.
down my favorite is the underwater level. Just gorgeous. It's so like how did they even it feels like the music that you'd get on the sort of CDs of like a PlayStation or something like that when they had that capability. It's just like it boggles the mind that they made something so rich and textured on a Super
Yeah.
The
Nintendo.
Super Nintendo was always really good at music, at MIDI music.
Yeah,
So
I guess.
it's not surprising. I mean, it is Nintendo as well, so they are working with their own hardware. It's like Astrobot works with the PlayStation controller so well because PlayStation's building the game. So same idea here is Nintendo's working with their own hardware. It's later in the system's life cycle, and they're competing with PlayStation at this point.
True enough. It
True.
just it's just so. I mean, you say that Nintendo was always good with music, but this I think is like a cut above even like that standard.
Maybe not as much of a like if this is I'm trying to make a comparison. Like if like your Super Mario is like your pop music because it's got the catchy hook. Like some of the tracks in Donkey Kong Country is like the Pink Floyd, where it's like maybe not like the catchiest or poppiest, but like man, you just vibe off of it.
Right, you just
I don't know if that's a
like,
good comparison. It's like
You-
it's like the
you
jam
said-
band of
you said Pink Floyd. That's all it'll take for me to agree with you.
yeah. Well, it's like the jam band of video game music. Like you just it's good, but it doesn't necessarily have that like chorus verse chorus type structure.
No.
It's just like it's there and it's awesome and it just
And it's
fills the
perfect.
space.
It's perfect for a game that you're going to have to repeat these levels over and over and over. It's like, can you imagine
That's
if
true.
the music sucked or was annoying?
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah,
you would,
it's not
Yeah,
not repetitious.
no,
No, it's enjoyable, but it doesn't like burrow into your brain like I was talking about that game Anticipation there. Nothing sucks worse than a song that doesn't leave you after you turn the system off. But I can think of the music in this game, but nothing like I'm not just sitting in a dark room and all of a sudden I hear congos. That's how good
God.
the soundtrack is.
You know what game I thought of today that does exactly what you just described was Phantasy Star. The first one where like you're in that dungeon and it's like the same like
3D Battles of the World Runner. I did that with Retro Wars. And it doesn't go away. It's been a year and it's still there. And that was done by Nobuo Uematsu.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was his demo tape.
Yeah, that could have ended his career, but luckily nobody played that game.
I don't know.
All right, boys, it's been about 50 minutes, 40 some odd minutes, and I have a kid to feed because I'm solo parenting this week. Do you want to summarize our thoughts and wrap it up?
can do.
Yeah.
Can do.
Yeah, let's do it. Who wants to go first?
I'll do my thing, I guess.
All right, you go.
Is this is not the first game by Rareware? Is this the game that put them on the map? Yeah, I think it's probably fair to say. It's
Yeah.
RC Pro-Am?
it's definitely one of them. You know, it's when you think of like early Rare, you do think of Donkey Kong Country, and for a very good reason. I mean, this game looks like nothing else at the time. It's gorgeous, and it's no coincidence that basically every game in the Donkey Kong Country series since then has looked pretty much the same. You know, they got it right first time. The music is fantastic, and that is something that's carried on through all of the games. It's not without its frustrations, and I think that's it's by design. It's not any fault of the programming or any fault of design. You know, it is designed to be a very difficult game. Like Brian said, it's something you're supposed to play over and over because, you know, end to end, this is probably only about a 2 or 3 hour long game. So, you know, you need that difficulty to get the most out of it. You know, there's tons of secrets, there's tons to find. You know, it's a fantastic example of a platformer that I absolutely love. Like I said, unless I'm fucking playing it, and you know that is where the rage starts to creep in, and I want to hate it because of that, but I just can't. It's in hindsight a fantastic game, and I think. Talking it through, I think I was going to give it about a 7 and a 7.5, but talking it through, I think I'll give it an 8. I think it deserves it.
An 8, that's a pretty good score. I'm going to go next.
Yes,
I just
go
wanted to
ahead.
bring up a point. RC Pro-Am, Battletoads, Sam's favorite Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, what?
All games made by Rare before Donkey Kong Country. So they had a banger of a list.
Did they really
Also,
make that
Wizards
piece
and
of shit?
Warriors. If you haven't played that, you got to play Wizards and Warriors. Anyways, summarizing this game, I absolutely remember this as a kid renting it and then eventually buying it just because it was so good. The replayability of this game holds up because, like every Mario-esque type platformer, you can always go back and play this again. It's not a new experience, but it's challenging enough that it gives you a fun experience. And being able to beat this game in a timely manner is probably like something young me just absolutely loved that I was able to do. Nowadays, I couldn't beat this in one go if I had cheat codes on. The music in this game is... Oh, yeah, and I tried to put cheat codes on my emulator. It just didn't work. But the music in this game holds up to the test of time. The graphics in this game are still some of the best looking graphics to date, in my opinion. And outside of all the negative stuff we talked about, there's really nothing I hate about this game. I mean, there's times where you miss a rope swing. There's times where you shoot yourself out of a barrel right into a pit. Makes me angry, put it down, and then about an hour later I get a yearning to play it again. I'm going to give this an 8.5. Just to outdo Alan a little bit and be a little more British than he is.
Very good, sir. Very good.
Yeah, pip pip.
Will I be even more British?
No. If you try this, now you're just copying a Canadian, which is kind of sad.
I just want to find out, is being
yeah.
British giving something a higher score? Because we're almost universally pessimistic. So I feel like being British would be to like lower the score, but that's just me. I think
I disagree.
I disagree, Reginald. But Brian, I think you're just being Canadian, mate.
I am. I'm sorry.
Well, I would maybe give it an 8.5, but Rare made Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so I think they should get points off of Donkey Kong Country for the fact that they made Roger Rabbit.
But they made GoldenEye, so, balance.
But then they also made, like, we could go back and forth on this all day.
Yeah.
Sam,
they made
Sam,
Killer
remember,
Instinct as well, and that's like one of the only fighting games I've ever, played.
Natalia
Jet Force
is in
Gemini.
GoldenEye. Remember that.
Oh, there you go. And I'm bringing them down to a 5 for Jet Force Gemini.
There's a Game Boy Advance game called It's Mr. Pants that I think I want to see if I can find.
And they're back up again now.
There
It's
we
a
go.
solid 8.5.
Let's go, Mr. Pants. I really genuinely had a great time with this game. I love the graphics, and here's a little blurb that I just found on Wikipedia. If you want to insert the Wikipedia sound clip there. I did look this up. Apparently that when they were making the character models for Donkey and Diddy, they went to the Twycross Zoo and looked at the monkeys, which I find heartwarming. I fucking love monkeys. Yeah, I loved it. I'm really.
You said I heard that wrong.
I love monkeys.
I thought you said I love fucking monkeys.
I fucking love monkeys.
He
It's
does
not my
love
fault.
Diddy.
You just switched the order that you heard what you wanted to hear.
The internet has warped my brain.
I'm really, really happy that we got around to playing this one, and that I finally got around to giving this game some real time, because I've always been intrigued by it. Going back to my early days, and I don't know. I don't really. It's difficult, but again, like I think Alan said at some point, like if you fuck up, it's kind of your fault. And there's a lot of gotcha bullshit, but it's kind of like instead of getting frustrated, or if you find yourself getting frustrated, I would suggest just like in general, I guess, but especially for this game, like just give it a turn it off and give it a minute, and then come back to it, because I think there's a lot here that's just really, really fun, and even though there's like gotcha shit that they're trying to trip you up, there's a lot of fun here, even if you're frustrated. Just kind of work through it. I don't think that I think that frustration is maybe a feature and not a bug. Like it's not poorly made. It's made really well, and the difficulty is what it is. So I'm gonna stick with an 8.5. I think I'm excited to get more into like Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3. Like I said, my Donkey Kong was unfortunately Donkey Kong Land, which I think I should fire up and do a quick play of. I think that would be a fun little companion to this. So maybe
Get
look for
that
that
swear
in the future.
button ready.
I'm gonna claim that one. I'm gonna claim that one. I remember that being a tough game.
Out of interest,
Right.
So yeah,
Has
8.5 if you lost that in the shuffle. But yeah,
has anyone else here played 2 and 3?
I have.
I've
I
dabbled
see.
with them. Yeah.
See, I've never touched 2 or 3. So
We'll have to fix that in a future episode. But for right now, I say it's time we wrap it up here. And if you want to join in on the fun, you can over at patreon.com/Retrotopia, where you can join for free and get a couple of extra shows, make some comments, including comments to the host of the week and on the game of the week. As well as if you join the hero tier, you can make one of us play a game of your choice for a quick play episode, and you'll get to listen to those quick play episodes as part of your free tier of Patreon. So that is everything. I want to thank myself for showing back up again finally while these two carry the heavy load. Without me, this show has actually been progressing higher and higher and higher, and I have a feeling our stats are about to drop down. So
that's not true.
No, not at
You
all.
you are the beating heart of Retrotopia, Ryan.
that's what I was looking for. There we go. That's the good stuff.
You're sure beating
Well-
something.
Yeah. All right, who wants to send us off?
Oh, I got you, buddy. Thanks for listening, guys. Make sure you vote in the poll if you're a Patreon, because we've got a poll up at the moment. And until next time, stay safe and please only play with your own bananas.